Hello, everyone. Hi, hi, hi. How are you? Oh, it feels good to be back. Um, just checking to make sure that everything is on the way that it should be. We are good and great. So, I am back. It is 2026. It is the 7th day of January, and I'm feeling good. I had a great break. I hope you guys had a great winter break. My kids were home. I was home. I was present. It was oh so nice. Um, one of the thing. Hi, Moody. How are you? Hi. So one of the things that I watched over the break, that I wrote my thesis, I wrote my script, I got my video ready. I'm going to film it this week. One of the things that I watched was this new evil influencer, and what gives extra crispy? My hair, maybe my hair. Um, I watched Evil Influencer, and it's supposed to be the story about Jody Hildebrandt, and more so Jody Hildebrandt than Ruby Franke. If you don't know, Ruby Franke was the mom from 8 Passengers, which was a YouTube channel here on YouTube, and they did family vlogging, which I am pretty much vehemently against. And they exploited their children to the nth degree, and people were finding that they had abusive behavior on their videos. Well, then it turns out that Ruby hooks up with Jody Hildebrandt, who was a therapist whose license was either revoked or suspended, I believe. And they went to her, Jody Hildebrandt's $5 million home in Utah, and they essentially held Ruby's kids, who were 12 and 9, captive, and tortured them. And so it was a big deal. And one of the, so if you're going to watch a documentary about this whole thing, please just watch Devil in the Family. I believe it's on Hulu. It is a well done documentary. I have personal feelings about Kevin Franke. I don't like him. I don't think that just being an absent father gives you a pass on the torment that happened to your children. Yeah, and he tries to portray himself as somebody who was like, I just did whatever Ruby wanted, and Ruby wanted to vlog, and and then Ruby wanted me out of the house, and Ruby and Ruby and Ruby, and that argument starts to fall apart for me when we're going to cover what we're covering today, which is Kevin Franke going on all sorts of podcasts. Kevin Franke has a job, a legitimate job. I'm pretty sure. Let me check out what he is. I want to say, hold on. Kevin Franke job. El Jackard. Hello. Hi. I have missed you. Kevin Franke, let's see. No, I want Kevin Franke. He's a professor, associate professor in the Department of Civil and Construction something. Oh, God, I didn't want to download that. Ugh. But anyways, he has a legitimate job. He makes legitimate money, and he says that vlogging was all Ruby's idea. And he has found this sort of, notoriety, I guess. And I've seen him all over podcasts and all over YouTube videos and all over documentaries and all of these things. And it's like, you enjoy this. You enjoy this. You like it. How are things in 26? They're good. They're good. I'm 7 days in, and I am so excited for this year. I really have to tell you, I am so excited. Jumping Fox, hello. Oh, shut up. There we go. Hello. So the thing is with Kevin Franke is like, he wants to sit back and just be like, Ruby did everything, and then Jody came in and she was the mastermind, and then I just, what do I do with my hands? And it really pisses me off as a parent, because you had a lot of opportunities and you managed to, I want to choose my words carefully here. You managed to actively and willingly fumble each and every one of them. So, with that being said, we're going to get into this interview because it's quite long. I was like going to fast forward it for a little bit and, try to get through it, but whatever. We'll get through what we get through and then we'll get back to it. So, this channel is Dr. Julie Hanks. I don't know what she is. Why is this like this?
Amazing guest.
Oh my God. Why is it so big? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me get this. Holy cow. So this is Dr. Julie Hanks. I don't know what she does, what she's a doctor of. I've personally never come across her content before. Going on these live streams and getting these people on my channel does not mean that I endorse them or don't endorse them. I don't know who this is. But she is the one with the podcast. She is the one who's interviewing Kevin Franke, and this is what we're going to listen to today. Go.
Excited to hear from. His name is Kevin Franke, and you probably know who he is. But I just wanted to start out by giving Kevin a chance to introduce himself because the media has portrayed him in a certain way, and I want you to hear from Kevin, like how he introduces himself. So welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, that's quite an introduction. Thanks, Julie. So I'm Kevin Franke. A lot of people, most people would recognize me as the...
So he wants to introduce himself because of the way that the media has portrayed him. Okay. Let's talk about what we do know, okay? We know that Kevin Franke was behind the camera when Ruby would vlog abusive behavior to her children. We know that he agreed and stood by her when Ruby, as he would say, because she apparently was the only parent that was in charge, but when she would do abusive things to the kids, like withhold food or sleep or beds, he would stand by her and he would double down in that. We know that when Jody Hildebrandt, their life coach, their therapist, moved in, he allowed this woman to move into his home where she was having demonic possessions. And he was like, you know what? I think this is a safe place for my kids to be. Let me move out and work on my marriage with Ruby. We know that within 12 or 13 months, he never once checked in on his kids. He was allowed zero contact with his children. You have legal rights, homie. You have money. You have a support system. And you were like, fuck it. A licensed psychotherapist in Utah. She got it suspended. Her license was suspended. Or a psychotherapist. Are you being funny? Oh, Dr. Julie. Oh, my Google man is back. Thank you, El Jekad. Okay, so Dr. Julie Hanks is a psychotherapist in Utah. Okay. Got it.
Husband of Ruby Franke. I'm the former husband of Ruby Franke. We were divorced earlier this year. I'm a dad to 6 wonderful kids. I am an engineer.
I am a dad to 6 wonderful kids. I have such a hard time with this because you literally just washed your hands and was like, okay, I got to do what I got to do to save my marriage to Ruby. After it was described what happened to your children, you still called Ruby in jail. Thank you. He's a father, not a dad. Right.
Technical earthquake engineer, a former professor. I am a nerd in every sense of the word. I am a good neighbor. I love watching BYU football and love watching the Utah Jazz, and I'm just a normal guy.
Thank you. So you've probably been contacted or attempted to contact you by local, national, international news media, right?
Yeah, it's been pretty wild over the last few years.
I can only imagine. How come you're willing to talk with me when you've only done, 2 other interviews, like the Hulu documentary, and then one other podcast, right?
Yeah.
So how come you're willing to sit down with me?
Well, one, because...
He also did interviews with people, and, I mean, Kevin Franke has made his rounds. Kevin Franke has been around.
I know you.
Honestly, like he just checked out. Honestly, he just checked out. He's like, we're having kids.
I think we go back a couple of years.
Yeah.
We've had some really good conversations. You've been a great source of help for me in the last
thank
couple of years, and
Thank you.
it's been really validating to hear what you shared with me and to really feel your love and sympathy. And so I appreciate that.
Mm.
I also know that you're not necessarily interested in the crazy narrative, the popular media narrative that's out there, but you're more interested in the truth and more interested in basically the humanity in the story.
I like that already, that he's reframing this. You're not interested in, how the media is portraying me. You're interested in the truth. He frames that as everybody else has it wrong. Not you, but everybody else. And you know what? I really hate because, hi, Mr. Pike, how are you? I hate when I listen to Kevin Franke, aside from this whole thing, he comes off to me as very genuine, very likable. If there was any other situation that I would see Kevin Franke, I would really like him. And I just have all of these things that are sitting in the back of my head, and they really, really bother me, especially as somebody who's an active mother, who's married to a husband who is an active father. And we take parenting very seriously. Yeah. So, and that's the other thing. So, Dr. Hanks is an active member of LDS, so there's that. So, the other thing is when you watch the Evil Influencer documentary, one of the detectives in there at the end says, "I'm a member of the LDS church," and Jody Hildebrandt makes it look bad, and they kind of forge this narrative that like Jody Hildebrandt was this mastermind behind the whole thing. And I really wish that we got to know who was paying for these documentaries, because I'm like, is LDS trying to do damage control, girl? Like, it's interesting to me that they would spin it on its head, take blame sort of off of Ruby's plate, and put it, you guys are going to love my new video coming out. I'm just telling you right now, I have been changing. I need to talk to you guys. You know what? We'll do it in the members only. I've been making over this break. You guys, we're doing it. We're fucking skyrocketing in this channel. It's going to be fucking crazy. And the energy that I feel behind me is just rocket fuel. Okay. But anyways, off on a tangent. I just find it interesting that they would take away a lot of the blame from Ruby and put it onto Jody. Ruby and Kevin are the parents. In my opinion, they hold the most blame for everything that has happened. Now, not equally, because obviously Ruby was actively torturing her children. Kevin was not. But, it's interesting that they're like, oh, look over here. Look over here. Beans. Beans. We're going. Straight bean bacon. Hi, only me. Yeah, I think they want to do damage control. And it was very interesting. I mean, if you guys want to watch it, it's literally new information. I also find it kind of gross that if you're going to put out a new documentary to the detriment of these children with zero new information, and you're just going to like regurgitate the telling of the story, for what? For what? Kevin was cool with all of it. Oh, you guys are going to love my new video. All right, let me stop.
The tragedy of and the rebirth, really, of my life and my family.
Yeah.
And that's what, I'm here to talk about today. So
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Sounds good to me. Yeah. We got acquainted. I think you reached out to me after I posted a video on Instagram and Facebook saying it was before the final judgment hearing. What
isn't that called
for
Chuck Beans?
Their sentencing.
It was either their what would you call it? Their plea, where they entered their pleas,
their plea, yeah.
Or then where they were sentenced.
And I said that Jody should be held much more accountable because she was in a position of power. And as a therapist, I understand the power imbalance of a therapist-client relationship. And so I think I posted that, and then a friend showed that to you.
What? Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to take this down past 2 speed. And the reason that I'm having such a problem with this is because I sat here yesterday and before I finished up my script, you know what I did? Which I think we should. Hi, Captain. Hello and welcome to 2026. I love your fucking face. Anyways, you know, right. What a neat little sidestep. You know what's interesting? Because I sat here yesterday in this office, in this desk, with 3 computer screens. And you know what I did? I read Ruby Franke's journal entries just to make sure that I did my research properly. A mother. Oh, girl. You guys can't let me have 2 weeks off because I am fucking just flaming right now. Anyways, this was a mother who wrote down, pen to fucking paper, wrote down how she would torture her 9-year-old and her 12-year-old, and then would sit there and analyze what was and what wasn't effective. And you're going to sit here and you're going to tell me that Jody Hildebrandt bears more responsibility than Ruby Franke, a mother actively beating her own kids. Okay. Rich Cat, you know, I was just thinking about you the other day. I was actually going to email you. I haven't seen you in a while, and I was like, I hope she is doing well. All right. With that being said, let's play this again.
Is that right? And then you contacted me.
A good friend of mine who was a big support of me through it definitely resonated, and I said, okay, I definitely. I think DM'd you.
She DM'd me a few times because I was fascinated to see. So yeah, it's fun that we've become friends. So I really, as
Hi,
a good, honest, intelligent human, and it's been really hard to see the media paint you as a villain or as a, you know, ignorant or some things like that. And I mean, I can't imagine how hard that's been for you.
I don't think there's enough to paint Kevin Franke as a villain. But when she says, or they paint you as ignorant. No, ma'am. Ignorance was the card that he played because there's just like plausible deniability, and the fact that he could just be like, what happened? What happened? He chose ignorance. He chose it. And if you watch his police interview, he then used that. Well, I didn't know. I've been away from my kids for 13 months. I didn't know what was going on. Oh. Did he check on his kids in 13 months? No. Did he check on the kids? Actually, Sherry, who was kicked out of the house, tried to message him while she was out of the house, and he fucking blocked her. His own daughter. He blocked her. The media is not painting someone as ignorance who chose that as their fucking backstory. I can't help but think of the times my husband was watching football and a couple of my kids were standing right beside the TV and hitting each other. You know what? At least he was home. Because Kevin Franke was nowhere to be found. I think there's enough to paint Kevin Franke as a villain. Neglecting those children and abandoning them to the abuser is, you know what? That's a great point. That's a great point. To know that they were in an unstable environment and still leave without checking them in. Yeah, yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So if people, we're not going to talk a lot about what happened, right? I'm less interested in the story, but if people want to know kind of the whole backstory of the Ruby and Jody abuse case, you did a Hulu documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell people about that so they can get the whole.
This is where, if someone asks me the question,
Oh my God.
how do I learn about what happened? I will always direct them to that 3-part documentary series. It's called Devil in the Family: The Fall of Ruby Franke. It's
which
a documentary series.
I find very interesting. Devil in the Family: Fall of Ruby Franke, because she's the only one. She's the only one? Because a lot of the footage that she had when she was being abusive to her kids, wasn't it you that was standing behind the camera and you were like, cut? That wasn't you? Okay. As if Kevin did not have a relationship with his children that allowed them to go to him for help, he must have screwed something up big time. That's another great point. And you know why these kids might not have been able to go to him? Because he agreed with Ruby's parenting. And I can't stand how this... Oh. This thing, it hates me. I always want to like put it behind my hair so you can't see it. But then I don't know. It's stuck. I need an adult. Anyways. Okay. Back to me screaming. Thank you.
That's streaming on Hulu. And
I do have to say, of the things that I've seen, the documentary is really great. Kevin trying to backtrack in that documentary while they show all the footage is wild to me, but pop off, queen. Whatever.
The success of that series really blew me away. I had no idea that it was a great as watched and,
documentary
and as talked about and as impactful as it has been. The previous most watched documentary series on Hulu and in the entire existence of Hulu amassed something like 3.9 million views in the first week. Ours surpassed 7.9 million views in the first 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
And so, not only did we become the most watched documentary series on Hulu, but I mean, the impact that story has had and continues to have in the public discourse and popular culture, popular media, even all the social media vultures who are out there who love to feed off of the story and exploit it themselves for their own, gain. It continues to...
I know. And he's so proud of his numbers. Social media vultures. I suppose that's me. And let me tell you why. Because I think what you have to say, Kevin, and the reason that I do this, and the reason that I talk about this, is because there's a lot of people like yourself who would get themselves into some sort of hot water and then go, let me tell you the truth. You've documented it for years. Right. Is that something to be proud of? We've gotten this many views over the fact that your wife actively abused your children while you just decided to like go ghost mode for 13 months. Oh, man.
To generate a lot of
Sorry, I'm eating my lunch.
I mean,
Peanuts.
every day, there's still a story written somewhere in the media about it.
Wow. What do you think it is about the story that has people so fascinated that it would be the #1 documentary on Hulu?
I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I think the sheer craziness of the story.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people hear the story.
I think a lot of people can't fathom doing this to their children from start to finish. Exploiting their worst moments on camera for views, for money. Leaving their children for 13 months. Assaulting their children in the worst ways. it's not just about the craziness of the story. I think a lot of us as parents cannot even fathom what happened here. I still can't. I was watching, getting some of my videos together for my my upcoming video, watching some of Ruby Franke's vlogs. And the only thing that I could think of was, I don't know under what circumstance, and we're not even talking about hitting, okay? Let's just take hitting off the table. I don't know under what circumstance I would have to use one of my children's basic needs as a punishment. Period. We're not even getting to fucking hitting. We're getting to food, water, a place to sleep. You need all of this. You need to nurture all of these things for positive developmental growth. And I think, and that's the thing that bothers me about Kevin, is he's like, people don't know and they want to say I was ignorant. Okay, let's talk about when you weren't ignorant, when you were in the house and you chose to take your son's bed away and your 6-year-old daughter didn't get lunch at school and Ruby's like, fuck it, she doesn't get lunch. You agreed with those parenting tactics. You agreed with taking basic needs away from your children as punishment. No matter how you slice it, it's fucked up, Kevin. Yeah, people like to watch a train wreck, which is exactly what this is. I don't think what do you mean he's talking about the exploitation? Right. 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 I don't think he understands who is exploited when they're putting up videos of my daughter buying her first bra, getting her first period, potty training so-and-so. That's okay with you? My husband will punch me in the face. If I talked about my daughter's first period on camera and showed her face and embarrassed her, my husband would set me on fire. He'd be like, what are you doing? Why?
And it's almost like...
And I was just talking about this too with my husband's cousin, because we're on a couples bowling league. And I was like, you know what? A lot of times with parents and with couples, you need one parent to balance out the other parent. Because a lot of times, sometimes I'm like, and my husband's like, chill, I got it. You go, walk away. And it's like, fine. Or vice versa. Or we have to sit together and we're like, all right, here's what the crime was. What is the punishment? What do we do here? We work together, but also to teach a child, not to be like, well, you don't get to eat dinner because you didn't clean. I don't know if he still is. I got it pulled up right now.
You got to be kidding.
Yeah, no, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Right? And then, the story itself is just so sheer horrific that I think, unfortunately, there's a large part of that audience that's just attracted to a train wreck. And,
hey, I should have just let him keep going, El Jacad.
Seeing, the horrific stories, they get a hit or they take something from it.
I think there's a lot of learnable lessons in this story. I absolutely think that there are a lot of valuable lessons in this story, especially when it comes to family vlogging and what putting children online does.
So I think that's attracted a large part of the audience. I also think, though, that there's a large part of people that see an element of themselves or somebody they know in the story.
Not a chance.
And it resonates.
Oh, well, that's not true. I see myself in Sherry Franke. For sure. For sure. I don't know if they had pets.
It's with them. And it's almost like they can't take their eyes away from it, even though they want to.
Yeah. I'm really curious, getting to know you. I know that you're a a good, intelligent, smart person. What vulnerabilities did you bring into that marriage and then into like the situation with Jody that opened you up to being vulnerable to that level of control and manipulation?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I mean,
Hold on. Sorry, I was reading
the
chat.
questions that I'm
What was the question?
To being vulnerable to that level of control and manipulation.
yeah,
Okay. Being vulnerable to that level of control and manipulation. Which you have to say to Kevin Franke then, right there, openly and honestly, when did the critical thinking piece leave? Because I feel if you say it that way, if you say, Kevin, when did you stop standing up for yourself? When did the critical thinking piece leave? When did your parenting just shut off? I don't think he'd be like, that's a really great question. I think he'd take offense to that. And it's interesting that she frames it that way. How did you get so vulnerable that Jody came in and manipulated and controlled?
that's such a good question. I mean, one of the questions that I'm most frequently asked is like, how? I mean, you're a smart guy. Like, how?
Yeah.
And you know, that's a question that I've had to tackle myself. And I've had a lot of time to really reflect on that and think about it. And I've come to learn that emotional intelligence is not the same as like knowledge intelligence or just what we generally call intellect, like
True.
you know, what you learn in school or learn from reading books.
Yeah.
You can read every book on the topic of emotional intelligence, but until you actually live it, until you actually go through the steps of growth and change, the just knowing something does not necessarily equate wisdom. And so for me, it's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is just knowing a bunch of stuff. And I know a bunch of stuff, right? Yeah. I'm a PhD. I'm a civil engineer. Yeah. I've been a professor for 12 years, a very well published, internationally recognized professor. Yeah. I was like at the time.
You know, for somebody who says in the documentary that he was in, Devil in the Family, that he has a crazy low self-esteem, you sure do like yourself. You can name off of the top of your head a bunch of accolades, a bunch of positive things about yourself. And I don't disagree that emotional intelligence and intelligence are the same. To get to a point to allow someone to harm your children, including your spouse, that's, in my opinion, that's not emotional intelligence. That's something that you agreed with. That's something that you co-signed. Unless you're saying that this was all Ruby and, you know, she just did everything and I didn't have the emotional intelligence to step in for my kids or be a father, even though there's vlogs of you telling them that they have to get it together so that you guys can have more trips and do whatever you need to do vlogging. But you say, you know, you don't have the emotional intelligence and that you just let Ruby just completely do everything. You shouldn't have had 6 kids. You didn't learn anything from Sherry Franke, the oldest. You didn't learn anything from Chad Franke, your second child. Every child that you had, you learned nothing. Because I'll tell you, going from 0 to 1 in children, hardest transition of my life. Hard, because you learn everything at once. So many things change about your life. You as a person, who are you as a parent? Who are you as a wife? Who are you two as a couple? Who are you two as a couple who parents? Who are you two as a couple who still tries to date each other? Who is he to you now? What hierarchy are these kids on? How are you guys going to parent these kids? And then right when you think you got it, right when you think you're like, oh, cool, I got this fucking parenting down, your kids hit a milestone and everything changes. And that happens over and over and over again. Okay, fine. You start fucking it up with the first one. Okay, so you have Sherry, but then you have Chad. You learned nothing from your mistakes with Sherry to change it to Chad, to be better, to change it for then the third child, the fourth child, the fifth child, or the sixth child. What I'm hearing right now is you didn't have emotional intelligence and you learned nothing by having 6 fucking children. Okay.
Top of my career, winning numerous teaching awards and things. I was always near the top of my department.
Oh, we're still talking about how great you are.
College in terms of like the teaching ratings, and if anyone from the outside would have looked at me and said, wow, like I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And I wanted people to look at me and say, ooh, I want to be that guy. That I needed that
like external validation
sure.
to feel like I was enough.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of people love it. Hey, that's why I'm on YouTube. That's why I stream. External validation makes me feel good. Like I enjoy it. I get it. There's no amount of external validation that could get me to harm my kids.
And because the reality was that I was so incredibly insecure throughout all of my life. And I've personally found that there's a correlation between the amount of like training and education that a person seeks and obtains in their life and usually the level of personal insecurity that they have. In other words, they're trying to compensate for that insecurity by accomplishing more and more and more and more, climbing the ladder higher and higher, looking for one more rung.
Because they learn. They learn from their mistakes. They learn what works, what doesn't work, and you decide not to apply that same logic to your children, in my opinion.
Get above the rest of the crowd, you know.
So that was your motivation? In some part?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay.
Like
so this insecurity was driving your professional accomplishment, your need to be the best, the most
seen, the most awarded, the most, celebrated, and certainly.
Which is interesting because you wouldn't play the hero for your kids.
When my wife, started our YouTube channel and when she started attracting a lot of attention and we started getting a lot of praise and paychecks from that was just like pouring gasoline on already.
Yeah, it was pouring gasoline. It was pouring gasoline so much that you were able to use your children's worst moments for money. Those are the accolades that you need? Okay.
A burning dumpster fire. And so it was exactly that weakness, that insecurity that Jody and Ruby both exploited.
Okay.
To cause me to do things that really were, contrary to my better judgment.
Yeah.
But
caused me to do things that were against my better judgment. I would like her to ask, when do you think that started? Because Ruby has been a shit mother her entire parenting career.
at the same time, in the moment seemed like absolutely the right thing to do.
So what I'm hearing you say is that
Right.
you brought this insecurity into the situation and this need for external validation. And so when that external validation isn't there, you just kind of do things against who you are because you're needing the approval of Jody and Ruby.
Yeah, well, somebody like me who
You're telling me as a grown-ass man you needed approval so bad that you would allow your wife to withhold food from your children. I'll wait. You guys, I gotta I'm never gonna get a fucking interview on this on this channel. This is so asinine to me. Oh, I needed external validation so much that I allowed my wife to humiliate my children on in front of 2 million people on our vlog channel because I didn't get hugged enough as a kid. Shut up!
who has no strong.
That's the other thing. He never questioned anything. In my opinion, he just let it keep going because it was good for him. Yeah, he was just following orders. This is a great question. If this was public or in blogs, how come CPS was never involved? CPS was involved. There were a lot of people on YouTube who did, in fact, call CPS. CPS in our country is, how do I say, hot trash. If CPS goes into a home like they would with Ruby Franke's house, the kids, they had rooms, they had beds, they were fed, they were clean. The standards are quite low. So, and also her withholding food and withholding beds is considered to a lot of people, including her, but like a parenting choice. Because America.
Sense of inner strength or confidence is constantly looking for somebody to tell me what to do. And so I always.
So you knew that you had somebody that you needed to tell you what to do all of the time and then chose to have 6 kids. Did you, and this is an honest question, did you go into parenting thinking that the kids would just know how to life? You wouldn't have to tell them what to do or how to guide them or step up to be their guide. You're their guide for the rest of your natural born life. Until the day you die, you are there to guide your children. I don't give a fuck. It's like, people, I'm done when they're 18. Bitch, no, you're not. No, you're not. I'm there until I'm fucking 85 and on my deathbed.
Always have one or more people on a pedestal, right? Those are kind of what, using the language that I like to use, those are my gods, the people that are more than human to me. And so I listen to what they say, I follow what they do, follow what they teach, and I need them to tell me what to do because
they're more like herpes, God. You think they're cool and then they just fucking flare up, and you're like, ah.
I have zero confidence in myself to make those decisions correctly.
I can't imagine being like, I have zero self-confidence to make any decisions as a grown adult. And now I'm going to have 6 kids. That's just such a wild statement.
Curious kind of your perspective on how LDS culture played into that or helped create that external need for validation.
Yeah, I don't think there's any aspect of LDS doctrine that.
Y'all, but got to be careful now. We don't want to talk against the church. And I'm Catholic, so I'm about to tell you my feelings.
That I clung to that was you are not smart enough, or you're not capable, or that's not what the doctrine says. But I think there's definitely a cultural element where we often will
These religions like Catholicism and LDS work on shame. It's all shame. That is the point. You're not good enough. Like, hello?
Believe that, you know, I need somebody else to tell me the right thing to do because I'm not enough. I'm not righteous enough to be able to make this decision, or I'm not mature enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not wealthy enough. And and because of all these not enoughs, it's so common in our culture to look outside of ourselves for somebody else to fix us or to tell.
And I understand that, but when does that become detrimental to somebody else's life? And when do you start taking accountability for that? Because I fear it's not going to be today.
Us what to do or how to live, or, you know, to go get some like procedure or something that's going to finally make us enough.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. That vulnerability that you brought in, that need for external validation.
This is a great point from Al Jacad, who is a professor, by the way. For all y'all who are not faculty in higher ed, I cannot emphasize how much ego and self-esteem is necessary to do what we do. Thank you for that. You know what I love the most about my community is we are all so wildly different, and we all just bring these just crazy perspectives. But when we get together in chats and videos, it just becomes like one brain. I love it. It's like one little brain.
What warning signs did you miss regarding Jody and your work with?
I know. It was all of them. Me. Doctor. Me. It was all of them. He missed all of them. Me. He missed all of them. Okay. I would say mostly the possessions. The fact that, you know, he needed a pressure washer with holy water. That might have been one of them. The fact that she was sleeping in his bed with his wife and they had body oils might have been another one. I don't know. I don't make the rules.
Jody, because of that vulnerability and that need for external validation. Like what, looking back, can you see things like, oh, I missed that because I was seeking this other thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, I could.
That's a whole interview in and of itself.
I could like publish, you know, a volume set of all of the red flags that I've been able to look back on and see. And hindsight's always 20/20, right? But
of course.
Some of the biggest ones for me, like.
I think she's asking the wrong question. Because when I think about all the red flags that I missed, you don't miss red flags. One does not miss red flags. You choose to turn a blind eye to red flags. And yes, hindsight is 20/20, right? Let's put this in a perspective of relationships, right? I've dated a lot of men who came with a lot of. Actually, let me tell you guys a little ditty about my life, okay? The year that I met my husband, 2012, at the beginning of that year, I had started dating this guy. He was a rebound from my ex-boyfriend. He cheated on me. We dated for like 2 months. I was crushed, because I was like, enough. And I sat down with myself and I was like, you're fucking tired. We're tired, okay? We are tired. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not dating pieces of shit. I'm done. So I took some time off and then I started kind of going on dates here and there. And there would be guys that I would go on dates with and the red flags would come up. And I would have to make the conscious decision right then. Do I move forward or do I just say, honestly, you know what? This was a cool date, but it's not for me. Thanks. And I started saying like, you know what? I'm good. And I started taking things day by day, right? And then I meet my husband and we go on one date. There's no red flags. We go on 2 dates. There's no red flags. We go on 3 dates. There's no red flags, and so on and so forth. And then those things start to stack. But what I learned was, yes, hindsight is 20/20. But it's not about the red flags that you missed. It's about why did you choose to ignore them? And that's what you need to work on. That's what I needed to work on. I needed to work on why I chose to be with people and accept shitty behavior. I knew it would be shitty from this time that I started dating them, and it was exactly how I thought it would end up. A lot of times I dated people that I knew it wouldn't work out with because I didn't want to fucking be with anybody forever, you know? And there was a point in my life where I was like perpetually the victim. But I chose to look past those red flags. You don't fucking miss them. You don't miss them. The little hairs on your back stand up, and then you go, it's not that bad. It'll be fine. My question is, again, with having 6 children, why did you choose to ignore them? Thank you. They are fucking beach balls. But, El Jacad, if you interviewed like us, you'd never get a fucking interview. Unless you're Jeff Jellison, because that man's a fucking hero.
Right from the start, I feel like I had her pegged.
Interview over. Interview over. Right from the start, I had her pegged. That's it. That's it. That's it. That should have been it, Kevin. And you chose time and time again to not make that it.
Really?
Right in the very beginning. And yeah, I talk about this in the documentary, and my kids do too, where it was like when
Also, Sherry, and this is the part that pisses me off too. Sherry had her pegged. Sherry went out and found out that her fucking license was suspended. Came to you guys, and then Ruby Franke was like, "Get the fuck out of my house." And then you just never talked to Sherry again? Your daughter brought concerns to you about a woman who is moving into your fucking home. And you're like, nah, it's okay. And it comes down to the point that you and Ruby were always number one. And your kids and their feelings were always number 2. That would be another thing. Why did you not trust Sherry when Sherry Franke did her research and brought information to you? Your daughter.
Trusted, close family friends introduced us to Jody Hildebrandt with glowing and rave reviews, you know. My first exposure to Jody was some big workshop that was the title of the workshop was Love and Lust, and trying to, you know, unravel the difference between them. And I remember going to this workshop, and I arrived late, and I walked in, and like there was an energy in that room that was palpable. It was an energy that was basically like men.
I don't know if it was more kids, more money. I think Ruby's whole life goal was to be a mom and have as many kids as she could. That was just the point of her life. But I think it ended there. I don't know if she looked into like quality parenting or like thought about that. But I think it was about having as many children as she possibly could.
Are horrible. That was the energy that hit me. It was an energy that was basically like, men are horrible. That was the energy that hit me. There were probably 2 or 3 women to every man who was in there. And
Jody, I don't like the boys. I used to be Ivan. If you can name what movie that is, I will be forever grateful.
the women were very animated, very excited, very into what was being said, what was being taught. And the men, for the most part, were very timid, very quiet, very subdued, except for the men that were up in front, who were they were the spokespeople. They were the people that she was modeling. And all the women were gushing and praising these men for what beautiful, strong, powerful men, righteous men these men were. And I don't want to give the impression that like I'm bitter or angry, because most of those men who are up there, we've gone through a lot, and we still emerge and continue. I'll call it a distant friendship.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of empathy and compassion for those men, because like me, they got there in their own journey, and it was all through their own insecurities as well. But I still remember walking into that.
It was all through their insecurities as well, but at what cost?
Room and thinking,
that's true. Large families are also a sign of success in Mormon culture. And that's what they want you to do. I mean, it's the same thing in Catholicism. They want you to get married. They want you to have a bunch of kids. They want you to raise your children in the eyes of the Lord. I mean, they're all relatively the same. She wants an empire she can rule. I mean, she got it.
It's a cult.
Really?
And the very first words that I told Ruby after that workshop, when she's like, "What do you think?" I said, "I really don't want to tell you what I think, because you're not going to like it." No, I really want to know. And then another one of her friends came over, and she said, "No, I want to know what you think. Tell us." I said, "This feels like a cult." Wow. And they just laughed and laughed, and they thought it was so funny that I said that. And that was my initial instinct.
Wow.
And we decided to go back, which is funny, because usually people who do get themselves caught up in cult-like groups or, cults, it doesn't typically come off that way, right? It doesn't always come off as a cult. It comes off as something that can help you better your life. And, there's so many more positives than there are negatives, which is why you go into this. So you went into this and it is just 100% negative. And you're like, fuck it. Let's do it again, folks.
Oh.
And,
you don't say.
The way that master manipulators.
That's interesting.
And predatory gaslighters, predatory cult leaders work. If she just came right over and was like, "You need to do this, this, and this. You are, a horrible man," I would have turned and walked away.
Yeah.
But that's not how it happened. She came over and was like, "Wow, what an outstanding man you are. You're just such a model man." And Jody, right from the start, was so.
This is the same logic that you're telling me if a woman came up to you in the bar and was like, "Hi guys, so handsome, Kevin Franke. I just let you say my blah, 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 blah." You'd cheat on your wife? Anybody who gave you praise, would just, that's it? That's all it takes? A little pat on the head? And you're just like, yeah, I'll give up everything for this. So it doesn't take much, does it, Kevin?
Good at identifying my vulnerabilities And she knew just how to like stroke my ego
Praise you
and pump me up with praise and things that just got me, oh, I like this person. You know, I had this person wrong. Like, this person is great. This person knows what she's talking about. And it wasn't long before, you know, I found myself being one of those men up in front of everybody. You know, it was one of those invitations that's just like, hey, you are such a man of God, a man of truth. You can help so many men. Can you get up there and just talk about like how, you know, you've managed to have the marriage that you do, and how you're so responsible and honest and humble, and of course, like, you know, straighten my tie, and
which is exactly what you were seeking, right?
yeah, it's exactly what I was
Seeking validation from another woman. Interesting, Kevin.
seeking. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was a tough one, that I didn't see it, you know?
Yeah. Or you saw it and then you let other things override it, it sounds like.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation on this channel a lot. A lot. And that's the thing that does bother me about Kevin. You can't be dumb and smart at the same time. It doesn't work like that. You have critical thinking skills, and you chose not to use them. And the thing is I know I'm yelling, and I know, haha, being funny, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you choose to turn a blind eye, and you're by doing that, right, you're risking your children paying the price, and then you still do that. Like, that's, I think, what's most disgusting to me about Kevin Franke. That's the thing that I have the hardest time like wrestling with. He knew there were so many things that he knew that were bad, and he still chose to walk away from his children. He knew what condition they were in when Ruby was arrested, and he chose to make the phone calls to Ruby in prison. I have so many issues. Yes, and you're no.
But, you know, another big part of that was what we were talking about earlier before we started this interview, was there's, I don't think this is unique to the LDS culture, but I think it's very prolific in the LDS culture. There's this, you know, in LDS culture, there's this popular and longstanding tradition or teaching that is that the men preside in the home. The men are supposed to be the priesthood leaders. They're supposed to lead with love and kindness and tenderness, and you know that.
Wow. Interesting. For Lion Guard.
That's what is encouraged and taught all throughout our lives, from the time we're little children singing little, you know, primary songs up until we're adults. And so we have this belief, this idea that it's like, I really have to be, you know, very sensitive and careful and respectful, and I don't want to challenge my spouse. And
but you
know,
but
on the flip,
you just said you're supposed to be the leader. And in LDS faith, I'm pretty sure men are supposed to be the leaders of the home, right? And no matter what, I get, again, and I'm just going to keep repeating myself, I guess I just don't understand. Like, you're not challenging your spouse, even when it comes at the detriment of your kids. I don't understand what you're saying. Are you a leader or are you a fucking follower?
side, we live in a time where there is such a strong cultural push for women to rise up and become strong and become loud and become independent. And so I think these two cultural trends, one from larger society, one from LDS society, they kind of clash.
Mhm.
And what I think is happening, and in more homes than people would admit.
What clashed? What was a clash? Rockin' the Casbah, rockin' the Gaza, Sharif, don't like it.
Is that there are very, very controlling wives, female spouses, who control from the shadows. They pull the strings. They know how to manipulate. They know how to control their husbands, and they do it very, very effectively. But it's sneaky because they don't want to appear like the.
Did he just say this like we don't know it happens? That's right, Kevin. That's right. Well, she was embarrassing your children and humiliating them and abusing them, and you were behind the camera. I mean, that was just all Ruby. All Ruby. Dude. Female spouses. That's great. It's feminism's fault. Feminism. Yuck.
The bossy, controlling woman. They want to appear like the very kind, the very gentle, the meek, wife who stands behind her husband. But
there is nothing about Ruby Franke that came off this way. We're going to have to watch some of their old vlogs because I don't know who he's talking about, but it's not Ruby fucking Franke. That's for sure.
The reality is the husband's shaking in his boots because if he missteps in one way and embarrasses his wife or then.
So you have no autonomy. Okay, cool. We get it.
Going to punish him in whatever way that, she's established in that dynamic. Mm. And that was definitely the dynamic in my home for decades.
Wow.
Didn't see it, but I've come to recognize it. And now that I it's happened in my life and I see it for what it is, and it's everywhere. It is everywhere in our culture.
That's fascinating. And that kind of plays back to like, if you're needing her validation for you to be okay, then you need to keep her happy. And if she's unhappy or isn't giving you that validation, you crumble.
Yeah, it really was a toxic brew.
No, his ex-wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Early on.
Yeah, each of us was so insecure that we needed each other to pump the other one up. And so it became, right from the start, a very transactional relationship where it's like, here, I'll do this.
And then you were like, you know what I think would be great in this dynamic? 6 fucking kids.
For you, but you need to do this for me. And as long as we continue in that cycle, it works.
I mean, transactional, or you mean a fucking relationship? I do shit for my husband. He does shit for me all the time. That's a lot of times how this works. I mean, not to get something, but like, am I missing the point or is he still missing the point?
But it's anything but tender. It's anything but loving.
Oh, okay. I see. Never mind. Just let it play.
Because it's all about me. It's not about her. And so it's a perfect breeding ground for resentment. It's a perfect breeding ground for passive aggressiveness, silently punishing your spouse. And that kind of stuff was rampant in our marriage. And I'm not going to say it was all Ruby and not me. Because
really, because we are 25 minutes into this podcast, and that's exactly what you're saying.
I was
talked about your part, right?
In that as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like if I wasn't getting, my ego, placated, if I wasn't getting my fears of not being enough placated, I blamed her. And you know, and she was vice versa.
Right, right.
And so I think this will set the table for a character like Jody Hildebrandt to come in and say, I see what's happening. And she called it exactly as it was. But then she said, I know the solution. And here's how I'm going to help save your marriage and save your family and save your children from the inevitable, destruction that is.
I really just, Shawnee, I really just think Kevin is going to, I mean, he just deflects. It's like every time there's something, he's like, well, sort of me, but Ruby. Sort of Jody. Like he just, oh God.
Coming if you don't do something about it.
So it sounds like you and Ruby transferred your need for validation and approval from each other onto Jody to some extent.
Yeah, she became the eventually she became the authority figure, the power figure, the one that if she was praising us, then we're okay. But if she's like not happy with us or not responsive to us, then oh no, like what do we need to do to change to get her happy again? And right there is the cult. That's the signature of the cult, right? But if you talk,
so your wife was a cult leader? Is that what I'm hearing? You're also calling Ruby Franke, your ex-wife, a cult leader?
To anybody who's been in a cult, they'll tell you the same thing. Like when you're in it, you don't recognize it for what it is.
But you did I'm not playing this game with you today, Kevin Franke. You are not going to ruin my day. You are not going to ruin my day. You just said that you did recognize it as a cult. You literally just said that.
It's only after the fact that you go, oh my gosh, like that was both scary and wild how it got to that point.
So you're confident to say you were in a cult?
Oh,
and she's a cult leader.
100%. I absolutely can say I was in a cult.
With two cults?
Wow.
Are you two cults? One was Ruby. He jumped like between Ruby and Jody there.
I know, big breath.
That's
right?
big. That's big. Part of the power that from my perspective, that Jody had was that she combined some good mental health principles with religion and spiritual kinds of ideas too.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that it really appealed to LDS clients, that there was this spiritual
Google that,
or
Mr.
religious flavor to some of her teachings. What's your perspective on that?
Well, my perspective on that is that Jody almost exclusively targeted the LDS culture.
There's no specific number for people required to form a cult, as they can range from just a few individuals to millions. Do I have a cult? Guys. Don't let you leave and be on your own. That is an important element of the cult part. He had space and would actively in contact with the outside world. He wasn't cut off. Well, he was cut off. So it's like a backwards cult. He was cut off from Ruby and his family, but he wasn't cut off in the way that you would think a traditional cult is, right? Like you can't leave the group. Yes. I need to find another word for bacon. That something that starts with a C. The cult of carne. Cerdo. The cult of cerdo. We'll have to figure something out.
I don't think she had any clients, at least that I was aware of, that was outside of the LDS faith and the LDS culture. She had created the perfect sales pitch for what she was offering, and it's exactly as you described. she really was like a knowledgeable and a talented therapist when she stayed in her lane.
Yeah.
Like you read her stuff.
Yeah.
Like you tell me.
And I've watched hundreds of her videos and listened to the podcast as well. And I was horrified by the lines that were crossed in the name of being
Baconite. Baconistas. I love it. I like Baconite. That's funny. Yeah, I'm looking. You can see her videos still up. Maybe we'll have to watch some of those.
a licensed therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, like the stuff she would teach, like 80% of it or 90% of it was like spot on, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as a side note, that is part of what made it, at least initially, so hard when I recognized like I needed help. I was at rock bottom in this experience, to go back to a psychologist.
I bet.
Yeah, that's
and
got to be hard.
Put myself back in that situation and then have my psychologist start saying a lot of the things Jody said.
You're
Yeah.
like, wait, no.
I do have to say that's got to be incredibly hard if you have somebody who's a therapist who's in this position, who weaponizes therapy essentially. And then you try to get actual therapy. That has to be a really confusing place to be.
No, and so
I bet you were terrified.
It was, and you know, fortunately, I was open with him to say, "Hold on, like, help me unbraid this," because Jody would say the exact same thing that you're saying right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, except that therapist isn't fucking your wife, homie.
like,
Allegedly.
Why should I trust you?
Yeah, exactly. Help me understand. you
Yeah.
know? And so she would take, like, if you imagine braiding like a rope, 80% of your strands are good strands. 20% are crazy.
Yeah.
And so, but she does such a good job hiding them in
As a female Latina, I have way more than 20 crazy strands.
there. So she has this combination of solid, like, mental health, psychological principles and research from, you know, over decades, mixed with LDS doctrine and theory, mixed with, I would also say, like, popular LDS cultural beliefs that aren't necessarily doctrine. And we can talk more about those if you want. Mixed
Carcelada.
with a whole bunch of just natural talent as a communicator and
Charisma.
as charismatic, and which I know if anybody's watched like a 30-second clip of Jody, you're probably laughing at that because, you know, she isn't a feminine, attractive woman by any means, but she's authoritative. And nobody went.
He just called that bitch ugly, and we all just missed it because we're talking about the cult of bacon. Hold on. He's like, this ugly ass bitch.
As charismatic, and which I know if anybody's watched like a 30-second clip of Jody, you're probably laughing at that because, you know, she isn't a feminine, attractive woman by any means, but she's authoritative.
He's like, that ugly bitch. She's got the charismatics though. Oh my God. What a subtle shade.
And nobody went to her because she was attractive or feminine. They went to her because she was supposedly the best. She was the person that people went to when everything else failed.
Nicely.
And she marketed herself as that.
Nobody went to her because she was good looking. Oh. Kevin. I mean, he's like, nobody ever called Jody Hildebrandt hot. Actually, I do have to say, some of her younger pictures in the new documentary, she was a very pretty woman before she became a rageful bitch. Young bitches. Let's see. Do they have them online? That one, but not. No, there were a couple that they showed in the documentary that she was very pretty. Before she let the devil in her. And by devil, I mean Ruby Franke. I love that, though. Nobody went to her because she was good looking.
So the people who were there were basically from day one, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Help me. I'm
Help
desperate.
me.
Yeah.
I will do anything you say. Those were the clients she catered to.
And then she could just get her claws in and...
Now, that wasn't me. Okay, I wasn't that guy. That was my wife.
You weren't desperate at that point.
No, my wife, though, but her entry point with Jody.
But I thought you were desperate. I thought you were desperate for validation. You were desperate for somebody to tell you that you are this righteous man of God. You were desperate for somebody to stroke your ego. But now you weren't?
Was our children, right? Because... And we can talk more about this later, and this is part of the motivation for my working with legislators around the country to try to create new laws to protect children influencers, children who are on social media.
Kevin's doing that?
The fact of the matter is that social media...
Because I'm pretty sure Sherry was doing that.
Yeah. When
oh, sorry.
children are influencers on social media, it's like a narcissism factory. And children really do become little narcissists, and nobody is immune to it. And so it really started to affect our children, and we could see it. We could see it in their behavior, some worse than others, and Ruby could see it, and she was panicked. Because her greatest insecurity, her greatest fear was, I am not a good mother. And she wanted more than anything to have healthy, happy children. And that's the irony of this, right?
Right.
Because now if you think of...
So according to the Salt Lake Tribune, vlogging my family put my children into public social media was wrong, and I regret it every day, Franke said, before testifying the House Business, Labor, and Commerce Committee in support of House Bill HB 322. The bill, which the committee passed unanimously, would require creators who make more than $150,000 a year from online content featuring children to set aside 15%. So if you don't make $150,000 a year, you require nothing? These children are working for fucking free? Oh my God. They put it into a trust fund that the children can access when they turn 18. The bill would also allow those children, when adults, to ask for the content they appeared in as kids to be removed from web platforms after the damage has already been done. Great bill, man. Children cannot give informed consent to be filmed on social media, period. Franke said in a statement he read to the committee, if we as adults cannot understand the emotional and psychological impacts of sharing our lives to millions of strangers online, how can we expect our children to understand them? This is a great step forward towards protecting child influencers here in the state of Utah, and there's much more to do in the future. Spam. Okay. Great. The children become narcissists. Right. We were fine. But it's the kids. Kids ruin everything, Shawnee.
Ruby Franke, you think the worst mother in the history of mothers.
Yes.
And
Casey Anthony. But Ruby's up there. She's up there.
And that is all Jody.
I know for a fact that this man did not just say that people think that Ruby Franke is the worst mother on the planet solely because of Ruby Franke. Kendra Lakari was her name. Kendra Lakari. I have to tell you, Shawnee, I think that if they had moved these children to a second location, that the children would not be here anymore. I 1000% think that. Thank you. It's so funny. I put this in my script. What a great point. Ruby wanted the world to see her parenting choices and then monetize it. Absolutely. Her name was Kendra Lakari. Casey Anthony only did what she did for herself. Also another great point, although she's tried to monetize after the fact. Yeah. Okay, all right, hold on.
And she wanted more than anything to have healthy, happy children. And that's the irony of this, right?
Right.
Because now if you think of Ruby Franke,
she wanted more than... I'm going to let him finish this statement, and then I'm going to go scorched earth, okay? All right, here we go.
I am not a good mother. And she wanted more than anything to have healthy, happy children. And that's the irony of this, right?
Right.
Because now if you think of Ruby Franke, you think the worst mother in the history of mothers. Yeah. And that is all Jody.
Okay. Am I good? Oh, we're good, son. We're good, okay? Let's talk about it. All Ruby wanted was to have healthy, happy children, okay? Which is why she used emotional fucking torture for her kids during her vlogs, which is why one of her most famous vlogs, we'll watch her vlogs on the next live stream, but one of her most famous vlogs is that her daughter, who was in kindergarten or the first grade, forgot to pack her own lunch. And instead of doing the one fucking job that you have as a stay-at-home mom to pack your kids a fucking lunch, was like, I hope that school called me and she's hungry, and I hope nobody gives her a lunch because it makes them uncomfortable that she is hungry. Are you fucking kidding? You took your son's bed away for 7 months. He slept on a fucking beanbag. His bed. Not his bedroom door, not his tablet or phone or TV. These children told you that they didn't have any fucking friends at school because you refused to stop vlogging them. Happy and healthy children. My ass. My asshole, Kevin. Holy shit, I am tired already. There seemed to be a lot of Ruby involved in the torture. Oh, we're going to read her fucking journals. We are going to read her journals.
So you don't hold Ruby responsible?
Oh, I totally do.
Okay. So when you say all Jody,
I totally
say
do.
more.
But like, I don't believe for a minute that Ruby had the intention of like harming or hurting our children at any point.
Got it.
You know what? I downloaded it. I have it right here. I fucking downloaded it. So let's just take a quick gander. Okay. Let's just pick a random page, shall we? Somebody give me a number between 1 and 60. Somebody give me a number between 1 and 60. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Hurry. We'll just read 1. Right. Responsible, but not on a personal level. Unintentional torture. That's right. 69. All right. Wait, God damn it. No, I said. All right, Mr. Pike. 13. Let's see what we got on page 13 of Ruby Franke's journal. R, her 12-year-old son, stole water. Stole water. He was angry and looked like he wanted to fist up. Fist up? Where the fuck are you from? All of a sudden, Ruby's like, he wanted to fucking fist up, y'all. I put my hands on his shoulders and told him I loved him. I told him he has no idea what he's doing, but I do. I can help him. I told him, give your demon friend a message for me. I will not rest. I will not stop. I will not leave. I will fight him until the day you die. I have the power of God, and he must obey. I beat Satan. I win. Then I looked in R's eyes, and with power and authority, I commanded, get out now, go. R immediately smiled, cried, slumped. He's gone. He left. I took E and R on a car drive to the something gas station. I told E she was never going home. I showed her pictures of her on the swing under the big tree. She saw a girl who was hiding, who enjoyed tricks. I told her I saw a daughter of God with divine worth. E manipulated during the car drive. R appeared to soften. I stopped the car, and we all got out to view the sunset. I told E she needs to stop her fantasy. She is not innocent. E, by the way, is 9. My son is 9. She can become innocent through repentance. Don't waste more time. R and E have been counting days. R did know yesterday was his birthday. All right, let's try number 58. 58 is blank. Sorry. 27. Let's try number 27. Just when we want to say that we don't want to hold Ruby fully accountable. There are days and nights that reveal God's most poignant mercies and miracles. Last night, God gave me a miracle I absolutely will never forget. I know when God gives you an errand and you do the best you can to fulfill it, he will protect you. I went to bed around 12:10 a.m. E, her 9-year-old daughter, on the floor next to my bed. R, her 12-year-old son, on the patio outside my sliding glass window. Sleeping. Oh, man. Just writing this, I am shaking. Stating if Pam hadn't... I can't read her fucking handwriting. Something to take A to American Fork for her ACT test, then I would not have been here. And my life and Jody's and my family's would forever be different. At 2:45 a.m., I woke up out of bed, straight up. I couldn't see R. He was gone. I opened the sliding glass door, and there was no sight of him. Her son was sleeping outside in the desert. He might have been 11 at this time. He did leave an arrangement of rocks in letters and words. He wrote me a message. Too scared. Forgot how to read. I ran to Jody's room, woke her up. She came out with me. The message said in pebbles, jail. I will call when I get there. Jay and I scoured the house, yard. Jody got flashlights. Jody and I took her car, and I got E up and went in mine. Oh God, oh Father, we need a miracle. We need your help now. Send the hosts of heaven. Show us where R is. You scared? You're doing the Lord's work. Why are you so scared? Because your son escaped after you had him sleep in the fucking desert outside? This is such bullshit.
Gotcha.
I think her intention, it's not I think, I know, because I've read her writings, and I was married to her for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I know how much she wanted our children to thrive, but her fear drove.
This keeps getting worse.
The bus the majority of the time. And fear drives an individual to do things that aren't wise.
Yeah.
And so Jody exploited that fear and led her to believe things that got, increasingly crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. Enter in now the apocalyptic element of this story, the supernatural element of this story. And all of a sudden
He's actively defending her. This is a way to take blame off of Ruby and put it on to Jody. I don't understand. There will never be a world that I understand that you see the pictures of what happened to your kids and you're like, but Jody.
Ruby.
I don't think if Ruby Franke went to jail, or if they were so public, I don't believe that Kevin would have divorced her. I really don't. I don't. I think he had to because of public outcry. I think he had to save himself.
Was like, oh my gosh, she was in Planet Extreme.
We're running out of time.
And you left her in your house with your kids. She was having apocalyptic visions, manifestations. She was being possessed. She needed an old priest and a new priest. And you're like, yeah, you can move in with my kids and I'll just move out.
Feeling like I've got to save my kids?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
And Jody was like just stoking that fire. And so the two of them really were like, I know I've heard, at least initially when they were arrested, like this Thelma and Louise comparison. They were, but not in the way people think.
Right.
It was like each of them was mentally unstable in their own way. And they just complemented each other in such a, I'll say, a perfect way that they created this perfect storm. That the two of them together were a force.
I have to say, if I was the new wife of Kevin Franke and I heard him speaking about Ruby like this, I would be like, the fuck? What?
Tell me what you think about my analysis. I think Ruby was looking to Jody for credibility and to become something other than a mom.
This is a great point. He is also taking the blame off of himself. If he can convince everyone that Ruby only wanted good for the kids, he isn't guilty of failing to protect them. It's a great point.
Momfluencer. Like, I can be certified, I can become a coach through Jody's methodology. So it gave her more credibility as like a professional. And Jody was looking to Ruby to have access to millions of people. And that kind of fed her need to share her message and get more exposure for her methodology. And then it just kind of created this perfect, like you said, perfect storm.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I think it's a little deeper than that.
Okay.
I think Ruby had multiple motivations. I think one of them was, that. one, she wanted to be that mom that saved her children from the monster of greed, the monster of narcissism.
How did we jump here, though? How did we go from you being up on stage, being praised as a righteous man of God, to Ruby thinking that the Lord was going to take her children and you're gone and Jody's the devil? How did we just missed like fucking 12 chapters. I don't understand. Like, how do you get here? And now he's like, well, she was going to save him. From what? When did she start thinking that her kids... what led to this? Jody didn't just come in one day and was like, second coming of Christ, guys. You better get your shit together. Like, this happened. This is a slow burn. Which makes it all the more sick.
Yeah. The monster of fame and popularity. She wanted to be that mom. But the second one is really important. And this is the one that actually people see the most. She needed to be seen as that mom. Mm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's not enough.
And that paid as that mom. She needed to be paid as that mom.
Was that mom?
She needed other people to validate that.
To validate it, to see her and praise her as the woman who bucked the trend, who gave away millions of dollars or walked away from millions of dollars in fame to save her children, save her family. Mm. And she wanted all of that glory. She wanted all of that attention. And that's what Jody was promising her. Mm. And Jody, on the flip side,
and for both of you, it's interesting that he's saying what you need to understand is about Ruby, but both of you needed that validation so bad that you were willing to give up a safe space for your kids to get it. Period.
He wanted access to like Ruby's audience of millions of people.
Yeah, he remarried.
But she also wanted access to Ruby's her personality, her reputation, her charisma. Ruby was in her own way a very talented show person. Mm. She could make flipping pancakes entertaining. And so her ability to tell a story, her ability to portray, this virtuous family life was second to none.
Right. Girls, what are we doing? So this is his new wife, Becca Bevan. Uh, 46, and his wife, Becca Bevan, who got engaged in September, are married. They got engaged in September and married on December. Oh, wait. December 21st? I don't know. Needed to be seen in a certain way, not actually be the way he went. Right. We were two fame junkies who would use our kids to get it. And this therapist stole my front sales lady. Let me see. Sherry warned that any negative comments towards him and his beautiful wife will be deleted. You do not know my dad. You don't know amends made or conversations had. He's a wonderful man. I'm so happy for this new addition to my family. And that's only for Sherry to have. That's only for Sherry. And she's right. We don't know. She looks young. I wonder how old she is. Oh, hi, Chad. How are you?
Like, you don't become one of the most, famous family vlogs in the world just off of, challenges and and following trends alone. Like, you have to have some real talent there, and she did. So those two things fed off.
But she didn't have enough talent to carry a channel by herself. She needed to post her kids, which is one of my main complaints. If you don't, there's people who family vlog and exploit their children is because they don't have any actual talent.
Of each other. Oh, one other thing. I think Jody also had this inherent need to prove
Shawnee,
her
I'm about to look
methods
that up.
right.
So like your family could be the example, the evidence, the testimonial. Like I saved the Franke family.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what she wanted. And she wanted everyone to see it. So those two just fed off of each other. And they needed me out of the way because I was increasingly starting to pump the brakes on the crazy.
Tell me, like, how? How did you try to pump the brakes?
Around 1978, they had racial restrictions. The temple and priesthood racial restrictions were lifted by church leaders in 1978. In 2013, the LDS Church disavowed, where am I? Its previous teachings on race for the first time. 2013. So, yeah. Great.
What were some ways?
Well, and I go into more detail in the documentary series, but and so I'd refer interested listeners to that. But in a nutshell, it was like, the things that were important to me, like the fame, the money, all that stuff to inflate my ego. Like, she was walking away from it.
I have to tell you, the things that were important to me, the fame, the money, is a wild statement. Also, we've been watching this we're 40 minutes into this. He has not spoken about his children once.
She was talking about, like, Ruby was talking about signing over the 8 Passengers brand and business to Jody at no cost. Like, here's our multi-million-dollar company.
That's huge.
We're going to give this to you.
Because you're going to save our family? Like, what was she getting from it?
Well, because by that point, and again, I don't want to make this all about Ruby, because I also was in the boat of, like, Jody is
I am well, thank you.
elect. Jody is chosen by
Special.
God to do something special. This is our way of contributing to that effort. But, I was
Like
never
an offering, like a tithing offering
kind of
thing?
like a test from God. Like, are you,
Wow.
like Isaac,
Sacrifice.
Abraham was willing to sacrifice Isaac. Are you willing to sacrifice this big brand and business for the good
Me?
of humanity? Like,
Wow.
that's how it was framed. I wasn't.
You're like, nope.
I was like, Ruby, you're crazy. Like, this is crazy. We have
He fought more for the 8 Passengers channel than he did for his kids. Just stand up for something, Kevin. Stand up for something. We love it. We love it. There's your backbone, Kevin, when it has to do with them paychecks, huh, son?
a very good family friend who at the time was our manager, and he was like just blowing the whistle at this point, just like
this
whoa, red flags,
SOS.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
And Ruby fired him.
Oh, wow.
It was on the spot.
So then you were on your own trying to stop the train.
And I was just trying to but do it
That's going to be new merch. I'm going to sell waiters.
in a way that wasn't like going to get me punished. And it's important it's important.
Yeah, and then they came for my money, and that was a red flag that I just couldn't ignore. But I still left so she could be alone with my kids.
To share that, because as part of this, you know, by this point, Jody had Ruby's ear, and so she was constantly like giving her instructions and feeding her information and building her suspicions around me. Like, oh, Kevin isn't what you think he is. Kevin's just like every other man, but he's so sneaky and manipulative that he hides it. So he's more dangerous than other men, you know? And so Ruby started to really get those suspicions. And that's what ultimately led to our first separation. And it, you know, so everyone knows about like the separation where I left the home and I was out in Jody's care. And that was horrific. We can talk about that if you want, but that was hell. But prior to that, what most people don't know about was there was a separation before that was about 3 months in length, but it was what Jody and Ruby called an in-home separation. And, you know, other previous clients from Jody have talked about these kinds of things publicly. It's one of these things where the wife just lays down the laws of the house. It's like,
It hates
you are allowed to come at this time, go at this time. You are allowed to eat your food in this space. You are allowed to sleep in this space. Everything else is off limits. And if you violate it, that shows me you don't care about me. You don't care about our relationship. You don't care about our marriage, and I will act accordingly.
So you lose all power.
Yep.
All autonomy. You just say like, all right, I'll just do whatever you want, instead of just, you know, pushing back a little bit.
So, you know, prior to all of this, like, we're going to give away the business and stuff, I had just been released or freed from this 3-month in-home separation. And that was hard. That was so hard.
Yeah,
it was honestly abusive. And
you just have to please her, like keep her happy, right? So she allows you to eat in the main room.
Yeah, or if, you know.
For him to call that abusive after talking about like the result of all of this is, it's an interesting choice.
It gets to the point where if she graces you with any interaction or even a kind word, one word in a text, you're like jumping through the roof with, you know, happiness. I mean, that's how starved for affection you become. And again, remember, let's base this again, what you know about me now, having all this insecurity, having all this low self-esteem. Now it's like, if I want any of that from the person who's the most important person in my life, my spouse, I have to earn it.
Wow.
And yeah.
That's so sad. That's so abusive. Like, you don't get to be a person. You have to perform like a dog for a treat.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
And what is horrific, I've come to learn, is that there are former clients of Jody who are still in that dynamic, where the men are still in that mode and their wives are lording over them and are, you know, like a dog, making those men like appease them every moment of the day.
Bye, Chad.
So they can get their attaboy or their treat.
From what I read and from the documentaries and stories that I've read, sexuality was a big component in this, like shaming men for their sexuality.
Yeah.
Was that
I have
part
no
of
idea.
the separation? Was withdrawal of sexual contact? And
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was
And
sex
well,
woven into this?
talk with any man how it would be to go 3 months without
Yeah.
sex with your wife. Like, it's hard.
Was there also sexual shame that she was kind of putting onto you?
Yeah, I
in that
think
time?
what Jody was really good at in this arena was
You know what I think bothers me the most, though, Shawnee, is I struggle with this because part of me does say that, right? I'm like, oh, you're weak, and then part of me is like, but you're not, because there's certain points where he's not, and he speaks his mind, and he says, you know, what he's thinking and what he wants to say, and there's certain moments where he puts his foot down, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I had no autonomy, I'm not a person, I'm just a dog with a treat. You got to pick one, because it cannot be both.
taking doctrine and teachings from the LDS Church. So she had like quotes from church leaders over the decades. Especially, she loved quotes back from the 70s and 80s that were a lot more, I don't know how to say it, like, what would I call
Controlling?
it? Controlling,
Orthodox?
a lot more orthodox than they are today. Maybe I'd say, like, today it's more about the spirit of the law, but back then it was the letter of the law. Like, you know, you can do this, you can do this, you can't do this, or you know. So Jody was very much about that. But I think the most damaging lie that she would teach, and she would only teach it to people that she had really got her hooks into. She wouldn't ever present this like in a first interaction. Yeah. Because she would know that people would just run away. Like they wouldn't listen to it, right? It was this idea that attraction, sexual attraction, is lust by its nature. So if I'm walking down the street and I see a woman and I'm like, feel attraction to that woman, that's lust. I just lusted.
Isn't that what it is, though? Isn't that like a sense of lust? Like, what is lust? What is lust by definition? Lust is a very strong sexual desire. Have a very strong sexual desire for someone. Intense, often overwhelming craving or desire. Most commonly referring to a strong sexual desire, but it can be a powerful yearning for things like power, money, or food. Often characterized by self-centeredness and impulsivity rather than a balanced or benevolent goal. What is lust in the Bible? Let's see. Sinful craving or desire that focuses on self-gratification, moving beyond normal desire of covetousness. Yeah, that's crazy to me, to be like, you can't find somebody else attractive. There's fucking 8 billion people on this planet.
Which is
I have eyes. Insert like the Cardi meme, the Cardi B meme where she's like
bad
and sinful.
Which, she would then use that scripture that's like, if you lust upon a woman, you've committed adultery with her in your heart, right? So she'd be like, you basically
7
just
times
have
a
sex
day.
with that woman.
Instead of you're human, you notice beauty, and that's totally normal.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it would get to that point where it's like, as a man, once you buy into that, try going out into the world and walking around and being just like,
shame.
You end up like putting your blinders on and just looking at the ground, because you're just like, I don't want to look at anybody, because if I feel any sort of emotion or attraction, or I think, oh, that person's attractive, I just lusted.
To me, what he's saying about Jody's perspectives on men and sex just supports the possibility that she was involved with Ruby beyond being a therapist or a teacher who has a life coach. Move in. Right. Well, and even Sherry Franke has alluded in her book that they would come out, they would be all disheveled. There would be body oils and candles in Sherry Franke's room, in her bed. Gross.
And that's bad. And then I have to be
Yeah.
punished.
And then
Lost.
Jody was also a master of how do I say it? She was a master of extremism. So she would say things. It wasn't just that, oh, you lust. It's you are an addict. Everything was you are an addict.
And was this just for men? Like women could have sexual thoughts?
No, she would do
As
it to women too.
Okay. I just haven't heard about.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting because for the most part, all the documentaries cover it's supposedly just the men that are treated this way. Also, guys, I got about 15 minutes.
Teaching with women.
And I know it's not popular and it's not out there, but she had women groups, and she was just as abusive to the women in those groups as she was to the men in the men's groups.
Wow.
But a lot of times, what she would focus on with the women was you're allowing yourself to be placed in this box. You're allowing this man to have power over you, to lord over you. You need to rise up. You need to take control, be independent. You need to take charge.
I mean, there's definitely the fact that Jody hates men. Like, hates men.
She was training women to become kind of these lords, right, over their spouses. But she would never frame it that way. But that's exactly what she was doing. And the men, she was constantly breaking down. And
Lies.
she alone wasn't doing that. Like, she would have her attack dogs in these men's groups. Men that were like so invested in getting her praise that when she would say, she would often, like in these Zoom meetings and stuff, she would text or DM them and say, like, this man is lying. He's manipulating everybody. Confront him.
Go after him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so, like, it's just like little robots. You do. I did that.
Were there some people in the group that actually had compulsive sexual behavior, or were they all just regular?
No, absolutely there were.
People that were just having attraction?
No. There were definitely people in the group that had compulsive sexual behavior.
Was she kind of lumped everybody together?
She lumped everybody together. And I think, that had virtues. Like, I think the people who were in the compulsive category, the ones who are actually like criminally, committing acts that were criminal, that it made them feel like, oh, I'm not so different than everybody else. Like, and to them, it kind of lifted them up. And
who in this group was doing criminal acts? And why did nobody tell on them? What?
Help them feel like, oh, I'm more normal. But to everybody else, it was this alarming feeling of like, oh my gosh, like things are worse than I thought.
Like, I'm like them.
I'm like them. I'm an addict.
So is that part of how she convinced you that you were dangerous to your family?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, that is how she convinced me, and other men too. I mean, I wasn't the only one that got banished to separation, right?
Seems like a pattern over a long period of time that she would do that with couples.
Yeah, and the whole purpose of it was to just break the man down.
Yeah.
Strip him of every sense of ego and power, and make him very, very compliant to his wife's desires and wants and needs. And
I understand all of this, right? Like, I understand that you're in a place where somebody could beat you down so far that you have to separate from your house. I do understand that. Fine. However, as a parent, my husband wants to separate from me. Fine, whatever. You don't want to see me. That's great. You are not separating me from my children. And there were no visitations. There were no supervised visitations. He couldn't call his kids. He couldn't do anything. And as a father, with all the rights that he does have as a father, he didn't even try. That's what makes me so just disappointed. Like, you didn't even try.
So it wasn't healthy at all for a relationship. The ironic thing, though, is that there were silver linings to it. Because, again, a lot of the things she was saying, like, were true. Like, the reason you're doing all this is because you're so insecure. The reason you're an addict is because you are so insecure. You need external validation for everything. And so you turn to sex. Even though I wasn't turning to sex. With the exception of, yeah, I did, like with my wife, enjoy to have sex and would, like, I think many men seek it out throughout the week. But, you know, and certainly there were other men there who were like peeping Toms or who were like in multiple sexual relationships with and affairs and things.
Is anybody calling the cops? Like, what are we doing?
Things like that. You know, she would say it's all the same. You just pick your poison, how you act out to try to get that external hit or validation to, like, cure, you know, you're trying to cure your insecurity. That's why you do it. And so in that sense, like, my personal healing journey actually started in the midst of hell.
Say more about that.
Well, that separation where she was acting way outside of her bounds as a licensed professional. Now she's mixing in religion, mixing in her belief that God was talking with her and instructing her
and
how
moving
to,
in
like,
with you, which is
yeah, that was before. But again, that was one of those things that was like,
I mean, you
can we pause and maybe go to that?
No,
okay.
that one as a therapist.
It wasn't before because she was having these possessions in your home.
Like, you're not even supposed to be friends with your clients. You're not even supposed to go to lunch with your clients. Like, so that just is such a violation.
Yeah. So
anyway,
so you need to know the story to that. Because a lot of people, that's again one of those holes in the story that people are like, how?
I think the Hulu documentary did a pretty good job.
There's no hole in the story. You allowed your therapist and your life coach to move into your house where she had possessions, and you were convinced that you were a danger to your family and you left. You know, Eljicat, I was thinking the same thing. I feel like she has like an affinity for him or like an attraction. Lustful, perhaps. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like there's something there.
Kind of.
Describe
but again,
that.
like, they only had, 3 50-minute episodes. So
it's hard to tell the
it's
whole
hard
story.
to tell the story to the depth that it deserves to be told. Here's the deal. At some point in, it was spring of 2021, we had just wrapped up with some, like, couples workshop in St. George, and all of us who were like her, chosen helpers were cleaning up, and we wanted to go to dinner together and celebrate. And so we did. Everyone was happy. Everyone's in a good mood.
So she got in trouble for essentially violating HIPAA. She took one of her clients' files that she labeled a sexual deviant, and she sent it to his college and to his church. So yeah.
But Jody. And a couple of the women sensed it, and they asked Jody, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Is something wrong? And it was at that point that Jody confided to these women that she was being haunted by hooded shadow figures at night. And she hadn't slept in who knows how long, she said. And she didn't know why or where they came from, why they were there. You know, that's everything she was saying.
Yeah.
And these women were just like, it was interesting. Some of the women were like immediately just like, okay, well, hey, we need to go. You know, it was like they were so uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
They just immediately were like, nope, like this is my boundary of how I'm going to interact, but I'm not going to go further than this. But there were two individuals, and I could say her name because she was in the documentary. It was Paige Hannah and my ex-wife Ruby Franke. Those two women just immediately went to Jody and were like, okay, we can help you, you know. And so that kicked off this really intense belief that Satan himself was attacking and targeting Jody because she was chosen by God to bring this technique of this message of connections to the world that was going to heal couples and marriages and families throughout the world. And Satan was so determined to stop it that he was like sending demons to attack and torment Jody.
Wow.
So
Okay.
like, again,
And
they believed it.
You didn't call anybody to come help Jody in her time of need. You move her into your house, and instead of like helping the situation, they tell you to leave, and you decide that the best choice for your children at that time was to leave them in this environment.
Oh yeah,
And
and we
then
believed it
you
too.
believed
Like
it.
us as the husbands,
Yeah.
we believed it. And it was again one of those like stroke your ego kind of things, because it's like, you righteous men, you have the priesthood, so you can give her a blessing or cast out the evil spirits. We need you. We need your righteousness. We need your strength. So there it is. You hear it?
Yeah, yeah.
There's the inflate our egos, right?
Right.
And so of course we step up and we think, oh yeah, we got this. And that started this whole thing. Now, again, I'm not going to get into the details because I don't know the details. All I know is at some point in the spring of 2021, Jody contacted the Hannahs and was desperate. The Hannahs say that she was suicidal.
They do
saying
leave
that she was
slime
going
behind.
to jump off
Snail
a
trails.
highway bridge onto I-15 in front
Oops, sorry.
of a semi and end her life. And the Hannahs were like, as any good friend, like, no, let me help. Let me, like, you need to be taken care of. You can't be alone. We're going to come get you. And so they did. Drove down, met her, brought her back into their home in Utah County. And she was there with them for, I don't know how long, like 3 weeks, a month. She was in their home. And they eventually asked her to leave. Again, I don't know everything that happened there. I don't know the nature of things. There was a scene in the documentary that showed a possessed Jody Hildebrandt. That video was taken while she was there at the Hannah's home. They were the ones who recorded that.
Wild.
Wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. So what you need to understand, here's Ruby's insecurities again. Ruby wants to be the favorite. She wants to be Jody's chosen, number one. She doesn't want to be number two.
I want to know why this therapist isn't asking about the kids. Like, what were you thinking about the kids in this time? How were the kids reacting at this time? How were whatever? Anyways, I have to go because I have to be a parent. But I did drop the link for this video that we just watched in the Discord if you guys want to watch the rest of it. I'll listen. Oh, sorry. I will listen to the rest of it if you guys want me to, and then I can discuss with you. What is my takeaway from this today? My takeaway is, you know, I don't understand how something this horrific can happen to children and you can sort of like downplay it. I feel like it's being downplayed. I feel like the children should be at the forefront of all of this, and they're not. This is giving, I still feel for Ruby. I don't blame Ruby. I blame Jody and somebody, I think it was Kat, who brought up a really great point that if we can defend Ruby, he can also defend himself. At this point, I think Kevin needs to just let the narrative be what it is and disappear from the internet. Honestly. Honestly. I can't with this. This is so fucking irritating. When you see the pictures, which the pictures have been released of the condition that his children were in, when you see the videos, it's whatever. I don't know. I would say that I went into this like trying to be unbiased, but I didn't. I'm so sorry, because there's nothing that you could do to convince me. You know, when you just, I don't care if you have one kid. I don't care if you have 12 kids. The fact that you could walk away for 13 months and not check in, and your daughter sends you a text and you block her, and you don't talk to your son who's also been kicked out on his own, and you don't take any of your parenting responsibilities seriously, I think you're trash. So, you know, I think Kevin's trying to like prove that there's, you know, otherwise. There's not. There really isn't. There's no excuse for it. None. If you want to join the cult, yeah. I know, I'm sorry. It's hard. My room is very dark. I have one little light in front of me, and then I have these lights behind me. But other than that, it's dark and it's cozy. And I have 2 shirts on, and I'm so cozy and I'm warm. But anyways, I do have to go get my kids. You guys are the best. Okay. I told you I was going to tell you this, members. We'll talk more about it, members, or in the Discord. But I have to tell you, I have done some reflection, girl, over the past 2 weeks on just different things that I want to be doing on, you know, with live streams, and different things that I want to be doing with my videos, and different things that I want to cover. And hi, Jada Boogie. Jetters is here. Come on up. Come in here, babies. Come in. Come on. They can't see you. Come here. Come here, little mama. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Whee! Say hi, Jetters. Jetters is here. Hey, baby. But I'm just very excited for what this year has to come for me and for us as a community. And I got some things in the works in my brain, and I'm excited. So anyways, with that being said, I have to go yawn to I gotta get myself some coffee, I guess. I will see you guys on Friday for members only stream. And yeah, that's it. All right. I'll see you guys later in the Discord. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. No stream tomorrow. If you're, let's see. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, like, hype. I don't know. Do all that fun stuff. And then that's it for me. Bye.